In 2014, the eyes of the world turned to Brazil, the country of Pelé, samba, and footballing dreams. It wasn't just another World Cup. For Brazil, it was a chance to showcase itself on the global stage with brand new world-class stadiums. 12 venues, spread across the nation, were either rebuilt or completely modernized. Together, they cost billions of dollars, with the promise of leaving behind a legacy for Brazilian sport, culture, and communities. But more than a decade later, what really happened to these stadiums? Which ones are still thriving, and which have become empty shells, haunting reminders of wasted opportunity? Let's begin with the heart of Brazilian football, the Maracanã. Once a concrete giant built in 1950, its old version was massive but outdated, more of a football cathedral than a modern arena. Ahead of 2014, the Maracanã underwent a complete transformation. The stands were rebuilt closer to the pitch, seats replaced the endless concrete terraces, and a new roof crowned the stadium. Today it remains Brazil's most iconic venue, home to Flamengo and Fluminense, host of finals, concerts, and now chosen once again for the 2027 Women's World Cup. The Maracanã is one of Brazil's true stadium success stories. In Brazil's capital, Brasilia, the story is very different. The old Mané Garrincha stadium was a modest ground with an athletics track, rarely filled, and hardly a football hotspot. For 2014, it was demolished and rebuilt into a gleaming colossus of concrete pillars, one of the most expensive stadiums ever built. But here's the problem: Brasilia doesn't have a major football club. Today, the stadium is mostly empty. Parts of it have even been turned into a parking lot for buses. It hosts the occasional match or event, but it stands as one of the clearest examples of a white elephant. São Paulo, the financial capital, needed a stage fit for both the World Cup opener and its giant fan base. Before 2014, Corinthians played at the beloved but limited Pacaembu Stadium. So came the Arena Corinthians, a sleek modern ground in Itaquera. It opened with the World Cup kickoff match, and ever since it has thrived as Corinthians' home. With millions of fans, constant league matches, Copa Libertadores nights, and even concerts, this stadium is a shining example of how tying a mega venue to a major club ensures sustainability. In Belo Horizonte, the Mineirao had long been a football fortress, but by the 2000s it was showing its age. Renovations brought modern seating, better sightlines, and improved facilities, though its history is forever tied to Brazil's 7-1 defeat to Germany here. Today, the Mineirao is alive and well, home to Cruzeiro, sometimes Atlético Mineiro, and a host of national finals and concerts. It's also on the list for the 2027 Women's World Cup. Then there's the Arena da Amazônia in Manaus, deep in the Amazon rainforest. Before the World Cup, the city had the small Vivaldao Stadium, used for local matches with modest crowds. It was replaced by a futuristic arena designed to resemble a woven basket. But Manaus has no top-flight football club. Local matches rarely fill more than a fraction of its 44,000 seats. And in the humid Amazon climate, maintenance costs are sky-high. Sadly, it stands today as one of Brazil's most infamous white elephants. In Cuiabá, the old Verdão Stadium was demolished to make way for Arena Pantanal. During the World Cup, it looked spectacular, but it was built far larger than the local demand could support. Today it's used by Cuiabá Esporte Clube, who now compete in Brazil's top division, but entire sections have been closed off to reduce capacity. It survives, but never truly lives up to its original scale. In Natal, the Machadão Stadium was demolished and replaced by Arena das Dunas, a futuristic wave-like design inspired by sand dunes. But without a strong home club, attendance has been modest. It occasionally hosts concerts or even weddings to generate revenue. Beautiful to look at, but rarely full. In Recife, the decision was made to build Arena Pernambuco, far from the city centre, replacing Náutico's old Estádio dos Aflitos. The result? a modern stadium, but one that's hard to reach. Attendance has struggled, and despite being Nautico's home, it rarely fills. Poor transport links have haunted its long-term success. In Fortaleza, the old Castelao was renovated rather than replaced. Once a dated concrete bowl, it was modernized with new seating and roof coverage. The city's two big clubs, Ceará and Fortaleza, keep it alive. It remains a hub for football and events, and like the Maracanã, Mineirao and Beira Rio, it will also host matches at the 2027 Women's World Cup. Salvador's old Fonte Nova had history but also tragedy. Part of it once collapsed in 2007. For 2014, a brand new stadium rose in its place, curved like a horseshoe. It became home to Bahia and has since hosted concerts and cultural events. But even the new stadium wasn't immune to problems. A section of its roof collapsed in 2013, though it was quickly repaired. Despite setbacks, Fonte Nova remains active and passionate. In Porto Alegre, Internacional's Beira Rio was already a beloved fortress. The renovations modernized it with new roofing, better facilities, and improved fan comfort. Today, it thrives, hosting league and continental matches, concerts, and national team games. It's another selected venue for the 2027 Women's World Cup. In Curitiba, Atlético Paranense already had a home, the Estadio Joaquim Américo, but for the World Cup, it was rebuilt into the Arena da Baixada, complete with a retractable roof, the only one of its kind in Brazil. It remains one of the best-managed stadiums of 2014, consistently filled with Atlético's passionate fans, and adaptable for concerts and other events. More than a decade later, Brazil's World Cup stadiums tell a mixed story. Some, like the Maracanã, Arena Corinthians, Beira Rio, Mineirao, and Arena da Baixada, are thriving, alive with football and culture. Others, like Castelao, Fonte Nova, Pernambuco, Pantanal, and Das Dunas, survive with lighter schedules, relying on smaller crowds or alternative uses. And then there are the white elephants, Mané Garrincha and Arena da Amazônia, expensive, underused, and symbolic of poor planning. The lesson? Building stadiums without strong local clubs or long-term planning risks turning billion-dollar dreams into hollow monuments. For Brazil, the 2014 World Cup gave unforgettable memories, but its stadiums remain a reminder. A tournament lasts 1 month. A stadium should last a lifetime. And that's the story of Brazil's World Cup stadiums, from iconic temples of football to haunting white elephants. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want more stories like this, make sure to hit subscribe to SportsRender. We've got more stadium journeys, untold stories, and sports architecture secrets coming your way. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.